we're rolling. So I just want to, however y'all want to start it off.
So I would just say let's start at the beginning, how you got into predator hunting. I know this has probably been asked to you like 14 million times, but if you could just oblige us with one more tale.
So I would say I am a little unique in that it was probably a self-made coyote hunter. You know, I started hunting with my dad, but it was waterfowl, deer, that kind of stuff. In Nebraska, we don't have a lot of public land. It's like maybe 3% public. And usually what it is a landowner will turn their ranch over to the state to make it a public hunting area, and they'll get paid some money. And they usually have a central little parking area. And then you got to walk the whole place, whether it's 2, 3, 4, 5,000 acres, you got to walk it. You got to park. So I turned 16, buddy and I loaded up 22 shotguns. We were just going to go shoot stuff. Pull into the parking lot, and gravel parking lot, maybe 40 yards wide or so. And I look across it, and I notice something laying on the gravel. So I walk across there, and it's a lanyard of hand calls. I mean, like critter calls. I mean, it was mostly critter calls, if I remember right, you know.
Right.
Well, obviously some guy had been out there coyote hunting, loaded up the shit, and, you know, here I was with his lanyard. So, you know, this was probably in 93, 94. And, you know, at that time, there wasn't a whole lot of resources for coyote hunters like there is now. So luckily I kind of knew what these were. I said, oh, wow. You know, I'm sure I went home and annoyed the crap out of my parents trying to blow this. And, you know, I had been deer hunting on some ranches that my dad had took me to. So and the first coyote I ever shot was, of course, deer hunting, you know, threw the 308 across the hood and whacked this coyote right in the head, you know, with a 100 and some grain bullet, you know, but yeah, went home, blew him a little bit, figured it out, asked my dad if I could call that rancher that we went deer hunting on, called him up. Sure enough, he let me come out. First time I ran out there after school. It was like a 30-minute drive from Scotts Bluff, and got out there probably for the last stand or two of the day. It was all it was. And I was laying on top of this hill in the prone position, right on this fence line. You know, I had no clue where the wind was going. I had just no clue other than I was just going to go lay up on top of this hill and blow this damn rabbit quail. And just got lucky enough, this coyote showed up hard to my left, and I'm a left-handed shooter, and laying in the prone is the worst anyway because you can't move. And, of course, then he's off to my left shoulder, off to straight 90 degree. And so I remember this coyote got to about 75 yards, and he's just sitting there looking and doing the, you know, how they turn their head and kind of looking at me. He saw me, but didn't know what I was. And, you know, I'm just trying to be sneaky and just slowly scooting my entire body. I got to get 90 degrees turned up. And he stood there the whole time, and I shot him with a freaking 270. You know, and I thought to myself, wow, this is so cool. This is so easy. These coyotes are dumb. Yeah. Man, this is going to be so much fun. And then, you know, it was probably years before I probably actually killed another coyote, you know?
Well, I think just about everybody has like that scenario where you're just like, it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
I'm going to probably kill 100 coyotes this week.
But you know, the funny thing is, you know, doing seminars over the years and things like that, I'll run into some guys that are way more dedicated than I ever was. I mean, they'll be like, I've been out 15, 20 days and have never called in a coyote yet. And I'm like, wow. I mean, that is dedication. I mean, at least now there's video so they can see maybe what it looks like, you know, that it's eventually it's going to happen for them. But back then, you know, if it wouldn't have worked out that, you know, who knows? I could have been like,
throw them back now.
This isn't nothing special, you know, because you couldn't go to YouTube. You couldn't. I don't even think Randy Anderson even had a DVD out by then. Maybe his first one was just maybe out. So you couldn't even go watch it, you know, to see what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm very sleep deprived at the moment.
I know you've been depriving us of sleep the last couple nights.
Kind of went blank there for a second. So we've been hunting, not killing.
My first trip to Texas, and it's supposed to be killing. I come to Texas to kill, and we've actually
lured him in here with
we're hunting. You know,
there's coyotes behind every bush. You should come out here.
The mecca of all coyote hunting, West Texas.
And I guess they all got killed last weekend or something. I don't know. So you got into it then. And at some point you went into the military. So
right after high school, you know, I was just tired of, you know, crazy thing. I was actually valedictorian in my high school class. But, you know, everybody thought, I should be going to college to do something. And I was tired of school. and just decided, military was the way to go. And really it was no brainer for me. Marine Corps was really the only, I never looked at anything else. I was like, I'm going to do it. I want to be Marine Corps and I want to be Marine Corps infantry. And so that's what I signed up for. I did the side MOS of security forces. So did that, went through designated marksman school.
What exactly is designated marksman?
Probably the easiest way to describe it, the difference between like maybe a designated marksman and a scout sniper would be a designated marksman would be more comparable to like a SWAT team sniper, where you're close range. We weren't sneaking around in ghillie suits and shooting stuff at 800,000 yards. It was precision, close shooting, like hostage situations where, you got to shoot somebody in the perfect spot in the head to immediate incapacitate them, and surveillance. We worked closely with the CQB teams, that break down the door and storm the thing. So we did that kind of stuff. So it was cool. We're at the range, and this was in Dam Neck, Virginia, and we shared the range with the SEAL team. So we got the range in the morning, the SEAL team got the range in the afternoon. And we actually would shoot at real life pictures of people's faces. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to hit somebody in the medulla oblongata. It's about the size of a $50, and that's on the brainstem, and it's lights out instantly. You can't pull a trigger, you can't release a trigger, you can't do anything. And so it'd be ladies' faces, guys' faces, and the instructors. They had all these stories about who that exactly was. I don't think they really did. But so yeah, went through that. Got to see quite a bit of stuff. Once that little tour was up, my goal was always I wanted to be a scout sniper. That's what I wanted to do. The problem with that is being in when you sign up for Marine Corps infantry, that's really all you sign up for. You can't specifically, at least at the time when I was in, you couldn't specifically sign up to be a rifleman or a machine gunner or a mortarman. When you went to School of Infantry after you graduated boot camp, they would, based off of your scores and your testing and stuff like that, they would basically put you where they needed you. Depending on which one of those specific MOSs they were maybe low in, maybe where you graded at. So, I got stuck in mortars, which was like the worst thing for me. I was like, I want to pull triggers. I don't want to drop a damn freaking mortar down a tube, But that's what I got stuck with. First, I had to go do my security forces tour, which I went to Bahrain for a year, which is a little island off the coast of Saudi Arabia, and we guarded a naval installation there. The military or the government rents this big apartment complex there in Bahrain, and that's where all the transients stayed. They're the big fleet of ships in the Persian Gulf all the time. Mm-hmm. Well, there was no base for them to stay, so they stayed in this apartment complex. And at one time, there might be 200-300 American personnel in this, so it was a prime target for terrorists to want to blow it up. So that's what we did, is we provided security for this. And as a designated marksman, I got to sit up on the roof in an air-conditioned shack with spotting scopes. And, I look, and you're surrounded by all these other apartment complexes, and pools on the top, so you can imagine what most of our time was spent looking at with the spotting scopes, So, every now and then there'd be a suspicious vehicle. They were obviously, doing their thing, of scouting you and that kind of stuff. But once I came back, then I went to North Carolina, was in a 81 millimeter mortar platoon, and each battalion has a scout sniper platoon, and like literally 2 weeks before I show up, they do a stay induct, which is it's almost like a recruiting thing. What they do for the battalion, like, hey, we need to fill 4 spots in our scout sniper platoon, so anybody that wants to come try out, and it's like an induct thing all day long, and they just run you through the ringer to see who's going to make it, who they want. So I missed out on that because it was a couple weeks before I got to the unit. And then they never had another one. They'd had enough people that were there, and I was with that unit for 2 years, and they just never had it. But so never got the chance there, but got to see some cool stuff and got to shoot lots of cool stuff, even though we were shooting mortars. And then, so got out 4 years and decided I'd use some GI money and go to college. And that's really at the time then, that's when I had lots of time on my hands being a college student. Yeah. To where I could really get after, hunting, and then, specifically coyote hunting in general.
What did you go to college for?
I have a degree in marketing, a bachelor's degree in marketing. So I originally kind of thought I wanted to be a teacher. I actually the first semester was to be a teacher. Then I realized there wasn't quite the money there, Right. And kind of how it all worked out now is, while I was going to college, I got in with this lawn care. My brother's buddy owned a lawn care business. And so I was like, well, I did some concrete work and helped him with his lawn care business in the summer, between my first 2 years of college. And then between my second 2 years, I did it again, and we kind of grown that little business together a little bit, and I was basically running the business for him, and he was screwing off. And he bounced a paycheck to me. And I knew what he's bringing in. I'm dealing with all the cut. It was mostly weekly mowing. That's what we were doing, and he bounced a paycheck to me, and I basically told him he had two options. Either I was going to just quit and then go start my own lawn care business and take all the people with me because they didn't even know who he was anymore. They all dealt with me. Or I'd give him a couple $1,000 and buy his equipment, and he could skate out of here with a little dignity, and then I just take it over, and that's what he did. He sold it to me. So I bought this lawn care business for a couple $1,000. And, by the time I finished 4 years of college, I'd built that up into a pretty dang good business. And I thought, at the time, marketing degree where I was at was pretty much like selling radio ads for the radio station, or, something. And that's not what I wanted to do with marketing. But got to the point I was like, well, this is making pretty good money. I'll just keep doing this. And that really at that point has allotted me the time that, that I wanted and that I needed to get good at hunting coyotes because it gave me the winters, off. Yeah. Just to, not many jobs you can hunt coyotes, 50, 60 days a winter if you have a real job.
Obviously you still run the...
Yeah.
Is it just lawn mowing or landscaping or?
No, we mow about 100 yards a week. It's kind of a niche thing. I don't use riding mowers. It's just self-propelled walk-behind mowers. I like to say it gets me in shape for coyote season. I coach base now that my boys are getting bigger. My middle boy's big into baseball, and I'm big into our a baseball organization there in Scottsbluff, and have coached their travel baseball team for, since they were like 7. So yeah, it gives me a chance to slip away on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday to travel to a baseball tournament down in Denver or over in, Wyoming or back east in Nebraska, wherever we're going. And it's hard to be, it's hard to beat being your own boss. Yeah. Especially in the winter. And, and originally I did some snow removal and stuff like that, but that's just, it's hard to predict. And so over the last maybe 6-8 years, I've gotten away from that and have able to, expand the coyote hunting stuff to, bring in a little income doing that enough to where I can at least tell my wife, Gina, that, I'm working. I'm not just out screwing around. You know?
So y'all just completely shut down for the winter?
Yep.
I mean, obviously there's probably not going to be much yard mowing. I mean,
in our, where we're at in Nebraska. Yeah. I mean, by about mid-October, it's done. I mean, everybody's shutting down their sprinkler systems. It's freezing at night. So you want to get all that stuff shut down. And then, our trees drop their leaves and the grass goes dormant into March, 1st of April before things start getting going again. So it's like perfect. Like, by the third week of October, I'm freed up till, right about the first part of March, which is primo,
I've noticed quite a few guys who you see out just slaying the coyotes typically have jobs that allow them complete freedom during winter.
Well, it's huge. I mean, you can, people in this day and age, everybody wants to compare everything, like, well, why is he so good at hunting coyotes? Well, I guarantee he probably hunts more than probably most people. I mean, it's just like anything. You got to do it a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, the more you do it, like you and I were talking about last night, if you got some common sense and you understand how things work and you figure things out, you just need to put coyotes in front of yourself.
Yeah.
And make stands and hunt new places and be able to do all that. And if you're a typical guy, if you got a real job and a family and you can only make it out once, maybe twice a month, and you're only hunting coyotes 8-10 times a winter, it's hard to expect that, it is what it is at that point.
Everybody wants to kill a bunch of coyotes, but, or coyotes, bobcats, fox, but rarely do they want to do the work that it takes to do said thing.
It is.
Obviously, you bought into a business that was already somewhat successful. Did you kind of leave it at its, current state, or did you, push the business forward?
Yeah. I mean, like when I left, we had like 40 yards, and I built that up to at one point, we had 110 a week, and then once I started getting, having kids and, and just, it's physical work, man. I mean, I bet you, I'm not lying if we walk probably 12 miles a day behind a mower, and it's 90, we don't have the humidity lucky, but it still gets hot.
Yeah.
Doing that 5 days a week for 26 weeks. And that's what our mowing season
Is
is.
it just you, or I'm assuming you have some kind
I've
of
always hired up
employees, or-
somebody, whether it's a high school kid. Usually it's a high school or college kid because they're not afraid to work hard, and I can pay them better than what they're going to make at McDonald's, or at least I used to. Now it's it's a little different. They might be beating me, but buy them lunch and it's a perfect summer job for them, and it helps me out. And
then you start having all boys.
Now I have all boys. So my oldest boy Creighton, which is on this hunt with us right now, he's actually going to mow with me this summer full time. And so then, I'm going to get to kill two birds with one stone because I'm going to pay him that money, and then he's going to turn around and buy himself a car with it, and I won't have to buy him a car. So
build you up a little work staff. How did I'm assuming you got a degree in marketing, some sort of degree. I don't know how any of that stuff
Yeah,
works.
it's a bachelor's degree, so it's 4 year.
How has that helped you in your endeavors? Did it?
It has, because at the core of what I do, I'm marketing myself.
Yeah.
In the commercial side of things, whether it's me booking spots for my Coyote school, or whether it's me selling myself to a company to be part of their company and use their products, and in return the company endorses me. So marketing has been huge. I didn't really ever think about it at the time. I was just always fascinated with business and just that kind of stuff. So and then my lawn care business, that's obviously helped with the marketing side of it, and what to do with it. And just when you get a business degree in marketing, you take a lot of other just regular business classes too. It's not all marketing. You really don't specialize in marketing till towards the very end. But so that's to me, honestly, it was one of those things in college. Is it's like, the GI Bill was paying for this stuff, and I was like, I'd be stupid not to use it. I graduated college with like maybe $1,500 in student loans total for 4 years, which is crazy,
Yeah.
And it was one of those things like, well, what interests me? What kind of classes do I want to go sit in right now? Because, if you not, it's just like anything. If it's not interesting to you, you're not going to put in the work that it takes to do it. So, and that's just kind of what always interests me. I don't know, business and just kind of everything involved with that.
Right. Obviously you have a passion for predator hunting. At what point did you start getting into more things, like advancing your career on that side of the house?
I was still hunting probably 50, 60 days a winter. Mm-hmm. But at that point, I did a lot of waterfowl hunting. I really liked to goose hunt. I would big game hunt. We might go to Wyoming and deer hunt for a week, antelope hunt for a week. Got into long range shooting like you and I were talking about. And then I was still coyote hunt kind of in between. And after doing that for a few years, I was slowly getting better at coyote hunting. But, I realized the light bulb kind of went on and said, man, coyote hunting is what I like the most out of all those. And if I want to really get good at it, instead of spending, 30 days hunting geese and 10 days hunting deer, and then, maybe 15 days hunting coyotes, I need to spend 55 days hunting coyotes, and maybe 2 or 3 hunting deer and a couple hunting geese, and then that's it. And that's really what I did. I decided, that's what I want to do. So that following season, that's what I started spending most of my time. And it's amazing once you start putting, and this is the early 2000s, and when you go from hunting coyotes 20 days a year to 50 days a year, it's just that many more coyotes you're putting in front of yourself, that much faster you're learning things. And so over the course of a couple years, you can learn a ton and get a lot better just by putting that many more coyotes in front of you.
Yep.
And at that point, I kind of commercially, I started doing actually some guided coyote hunts. I advertised in the Denver Post. This is back before, really Facebook. There was none of this stuff. So a buddy of mine was a fishing guide that I did a lot of hunting with at the time. And he was like, I use the Denver Post all the time to advertise for fishing guiding trips, So I took out an ad, booked up a handful of guided coyote hunts. And, and that's kind of was the turning point for me. I told you originally I kind of wanted to be a teacher, so I've always liked that interaction, and I've never been stingy with my info, meaning, I put in a lot of time and, ups and downs and this and that to learn what I know now. I don't mind sharing that with people,
Right.
To me, my philosophy with coyote hunting has always been, I wish everybody was a badass coyote hunter and was killing all these coyotes, because guess what? The coyotes are going to replace whatever we kill off. It's just the natural way they do it. They're going to give us a bunch of dumbass coyotes to kill next year. But if we got a bunch of guys running around that don't really know what they're doing, it does make it tougher on us, because now we got all these smarter coyotes that have been hunted a lot harder that aren't getting killed off, you know, and we're not hunting stuff that's all exclusive, you know. I mean, if it was that way and the only place I ever hunt where I was the only one hunting them, it would be great. But that's just not the reality. But we're hunting places where other people are hunting and they're getting other influences coming in. So after doing the guided hunting thing, I realized those guys weren't there to really learn. They were just wanting to pull triggers. And if you hunt coyotes enough, you know that some days you pull triggers, some days it's work, you know, and just the feedback I was getting from these clients wasn't what I wanted, you know. And I thought, you know what, there's got to be something different out there. And that's kind of when I got the idea, you know, to start, you know, the school that I did. And I started that in, I think 2009 was the first year I did classes. And, you know, and that, to me, that's a lot more rewarding, because you're getting guys that are coming to this that their main goal is to learn. Yeah. It's not to kill coyotes. Yeah. Even though we do kill coyotes and they get to kill coyotes and things like that, it's to learn. And I love sharing, you know, all that information with these guys and watching them go back to wherever part of the country they're in and say, wow, okay, you know, this is applicable everywhere. You know, an eastern coyote is not a different freaking creature. It's still a coyote, you know. Texas coyotes, Nebraska coyotes, it doesn't matter. They're coyotes. And if you use the same philosophies and fundamentals, you're going to kill them.
So kind of lay that out for us. Like Wade wants to come to your school. When is it? All that stuff. Yeah,
so it's evolved, you know, quite a bit. You know, it's one of those things, just like any business, you know, it's just, it's evolved over the last, you know, 12, 13 years. So this past season, I ran 5 classes. The classes are limited to 3 guys. So it's a small environment. More so, the main reason is for the second and third days of the class, we actually go out hunting. So it's manageable. It's just me and 3 other guys and out in my truck, you know, out hunting for the day. But the first day is all classroom. Have a course workbook. I mean, it's a pretty official looking little course workbook, and it's essentially A to Z, everything, you know, that you could ever want to know about coyote hunting. And it's laid out, and we spend about 7 hours in the classroom. I usually rent out the boardroom at our local Hampton Inn and Suites. They have a really nice boardroom there. Rent that out. That's where we have the class for the day. Whiteboard, you know, so I can draw diagrams. And after that's over, at the end of the day, we go to the range. We do a little shooting. You know, I talk about a little bit of, you know, I teach them a few little practice techniques that I specifically do at the range, not just blasting coyotes off a bench, you know, using your sticks or your bipods or whatever, and, you know, shooting balloons or whatever it may be, you know. And then, then the second and third day, we load up and we actually hunt. So, you know, I think sometimes when you're wanting to learn coyote hunting, you know, hands-on is the best, but it's you can't learn it all. You know, there's some stuff when you and I get out coyote hunting and we get on a kill mission, you know, it's kind of, and you forget to talk to people, you know, if your main job is to teach during that, it's hard for me to kind of sometimes break away. I'm like in kill mode. Let's go. Let's get some coyotes killed. And I forget sometimes to stop and take teaching moments, you know, where in the classroom session, you know, that's all it is teaching that day. You know, I don't have to worry about where am I going next, what we're doing here, you know. So you get the best of both worlds with that. And it's the only thing like it in the country, you know. There's, you know, and it's kind of a niche that I've found and used it just through other avenues too, is whether it's the filming or writing articles, you know, is just the teaching aspect of it and trying to break it down to a way, you know, I'm sure you're the same way as that, you know, over the years doing, whether it's coyote contests or anything that you've been involved in with coyote hunting, you meet some really good coyote hunters, guys that are killers, right? And as you're learning, you're trying to pick their brain. And most guys that I've ran into in this boat have a very hard time of articulating how they kill coyotes. Or explaining it in a way where you can understand how I kill coyotes. You know, and that's kind of what I've kind of always based my niche in the coyote world is being able to maybe explain to somebody that in a way that maybe it goes, oh, wow, that makes sense to me. Now I can put that to use and kill more coyotes.
How much has teaching the class taught you?
That's a good question. I mean, it has. I mean, you know, patience for me in coyote hunting is one of those things. Coyote hunters in general don't have a lot of patience. That's why we like to coyote hunt, because we're only sitting there, you know, and you can move. And now, you know, I always remember this back when I was goose hunting, and we'd be sitting in this damn cornfield over here with all, you know, we spent an hour putting out all the damn decoys and brushing in the blinds, you know, the lay down blinds. And then all of a sudden, all the damn geese would be landing in the field across the dirt road at half a mile away. And you'd sit there all morning just watching geese and you just think to yourself, this sucks, because once all the real live geese are over there, they ain't coming over here, and you're just screwed for the whole day. Your whole day's shot. Coyotes, man, we're going after them.
Yeah.
You know, hey, well, they ain't on this one. Guess what? We're going to make the next one. If they aren't there, we're going to the next one. So patience is not a thing, but what it's done, you know, it's made me a more patient coyote hunter on the small scale. Like, you know, when it comes to reading coyotes and understand, okay, is this coyote going to come closer? Do we need to shoot now? You know, hearing stories, from guys. I haven't hunted all over the country. I've hunted in probably 15, 16 different states, you know, not, you know, Georgia and Illinois, you know, probably the farther east or south states, you know, now Texas, I can add that to the list. You know, most of the western states I've hunted, you know, from South Dakota down to Kansas and then pretty much everything west. But it allows me now, talking to these guys when they come out to my class that have dabbled in coyote hunting a little bit, I can ask them questions about the areas they're in and get some ideas, which in turn, you know, help me turn around and help other people in those areas too, you know, of how, you know, I would, even though I've never hunted there before, I can talk to them, just whether it's land access or the way the vegetation is, the terrain, you know, how the ag's laid out, you know, where they're hearing and seeing coyotes, you know, and that kind of stuff. So I would say that's it, you know, patience, you know, and it's helped me you know, it's probably made me pretty good at running shots. You know, because I do carry, I carry a rifle with me, you know, and I tell these guys, you know, I'm like, hey, you know, we'll get him in there. You guys just shoot him, you know. But if you miss him, I said, it's fair game. We ain't, you know, we ain't letting this coyote get away, you know. So I get to shoot a lot of running coyotes, you know, with these guys. So
I kind of want to come. I want to come to your class. It'd be fun.
It's really cool. You know, I get guys. You know, probably my main clients that I would say are guys that are just getting ready to retire. And
really,
they've dabbled in coyote hunting a little bit, and they're old enough and smart enough to know that, Jesus, this is more than what I thought it was going to be.
Right.
But they've done it enough to where they got a little taste of it.
Yeah.
And they want to get better at it, and they realize, well, okay, I'm coming to a point in my life where I'm going to have more time on my hands now to go do this, but I don't want to waste the next 3 or 4 years, you know, kind of getting over this initial hump. And they're like, wow, I can come to this school, I can get over that initial hump, and then now when I retire next year, man, my feet are hitting the ground running already. And I'm killing.
That's interesting, that the age class.
You know, I get some. I would say that, you know, the other probably biggest group is the younger. I would say, you know, mid to late 20s, maybe early 30-year-old guys. You know, that realize that too. You know, they're in the same boat. They just kind of got into it, but they're like, wow, you know, I can go do this now instead of wasting the next 10 years piddle farting around trying to
stumbling
kill a few.
it.
You know, I'm gonna come and do it. So yeah, I mean, I get, geez, you name it, diverse group. You know, orthopedic surgeons to one guy that's been out to my class twice, an older gentleman. He actually had the first company that brought plastic shopping bags to the United States. You know, back when they used to do paper. Yeah. He was the first distributor in California of plastic. He went to China, and so I always tell him he's responsible for polluting our earth. You know, every time he's with me.
Has he ever been to Midland? We have some of his bags.
Yeah, we have some of his bags.
Go by the local Walmart. They're really nicely decorated down the other side of the road.
Right down the weed line on this side.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so guys are like a lot of first time hunters, and they've never really hunted, but they're like, this coyote hunting is fascinated them. And I don't know whether it's I always think the technology involved with coyote hunting seems to be a little bit more than other forms of hunting, you know, whether you're wanting to shoot an AR and using electronic calls, or whether you want to get into the thermal and night game and that kind of stuff, you know. I think them appeals more to some of these guys that maybe have, you know, not ever hunted before, and the fact that I don't have to clean it and I don't have to eat it, you know, because not everybody wants to eat a deer. Yeah. You know, they're like, wow, I can just go shoot as many coyotes as I want. I don't have to eat them. Yeah. No, you didn't. You're just out there doing the deer and quail and everything else favor, you know.
Yeah. I'm going to do some questions that I know lots and lots of people are going to be asking.
Yeah.
Number one is, what caliber do you shoot? What platform and all that stuff?
In 2004, I had just finished college. I had a Remington 700 22-250. That was my coyote gun at the time. And I believe, who was it? I think it was Clinton was just finishing up his presidency, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, the AR ban was lifted. At the time, there was a ban. If I remember right, like you couldn't go buy an AR. If I remember right at that point.
That'd be a him question.
So yeah, 1994 to 2004 was assault weapons ban.
Yeah. Okay.
You couldn't even buy an AR then?
Very specific models and designations.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So once this ban, I just remember this ban was all of a sudden lifted, and I was like, well, hell, I can get an AR now. And to me, it just, from what I had known at Coyote hunting at that point, I'm like, wow, I can really see some advantages to this,
Oh, yeah.
And I wasn't married to, I love the 22-250, just flat shooting, it was pretty fur friendly, our coyotes have always been worth some money, with the fur. So, I didn't want to blow cantaloupe size holes in every one of them. So I thought, wow, this seems like a pretty good deal, with this AR. So I got my first AR in 2004, and I've never shot anything since, and, I've always been on the 223, and, there's a lot of Wildcat ARs, that have come and gone, and I've looked into them possibly, but I just thought, what,
if it
it's
works.
223, my gun's shooting 30-50, out the muzzle. I'm like, that's plenty fast. For me, it's always been something about stick with one gun, one caliber, and shoot it.
Yeah.
And that's how you get good. I mean, it's just second nature now. Holds, running coyote, leads on running coyotes. If all of a sudden I would have to go back to a 22-250 that's now shooting 800 feet per second faster, shit, I wouldn't hit a running coyote.
Yeah.
Save my ass because just internally in my mind, everything that's burned into there, it'd just be off, So 223 gets a bad name in the coyote world, and I like to tell people it's the Indian, not the arrow, 99% of the time. To me, it is, and I don't lose. I mean,
for sure,
I just don't lose coyotes. I mean, yeah, you hit one in the leg, you're not going to get the coyote.
Yeah,
but you put a bullet in the body of a coyote with that AR, especially, I started shooting those 53 grain, those Hornady bullets. Just the terminal ballistics on them is what is just phenomenal to me. And they've always shot well in my guns. Yeah. But the terminal ballistics of that specific bullet have just been phenomenal. And maybe, and this is a question I asked the Hornady guy. I said, why 53? They've always had 50s and 55, 22 cal bullets, And I said, why 53? That's just such a weird number to me, how? And, he said they specifically designed that bullet to shoot out of a 223.
Right.
Where the other ones, you could shoot them out at 22-50, whatever, you name it. And I guess through all their testing stuff they got, they decided that not a 51, not a 52, not a 54, but a 53 was the best, And so yeah, 223, man. AR, I've been running a Daniel Defense MK12. I got in with them just through over the years doing a bunch of coyote different stuff. I met these guys and got in with them and started shooting their stuff. And I mean, for a factory rifle, they're a little on the higher end. They're well built. The one I shot the barrel out of the, probably ran 10,000 rounds through it, and it was opening up a little bit, and I was like, well, I'll sit. I thought maybe I'm terrible about cleaning my guns. So I thought it was all copper fouled up, and stuff. And I went through that whole process, and it was still like 1.5-inch groups, and it's normally shooting sub 1/2-inch groups. So, and I'm like you, I want it to be, if it'll drive tax, I want it to drive tax. I want that if I miss or something, I want it is no question, it's me, it's not the gun. And so, yeah, they put a new barrel on it and I'm still shooting the same one. So
yeah, it just seems like anybody who's super into varmint hunting, predator hunting, just expects the utmost accuracy out of their rifles. And a lot of people wonder why. At a bench, I'm, patting myself on the back here. I'm a pretty good shot. Like, I shoot a lot, as I should be a pretty good shot. So I know exactly what that rifle's capable of, whether it be a 1/4-inch, one-hole groups, whatever the deal is. That's at a bench, at 100 yards, shooting a piece of paper. Let's just say my 1/4-inch rifle, when I'm sitting on sticks, becomes, 1-inch rifle. Yep. Let's say I had to quickly throw to the one side or another. That becomes a 2-inch rifle. Yeah. Everything amplifies.
And your heart rate just jumped up about 30 beats a minute.
Every little thing
showed up.
Amplifies. Well, at the bench, my 1/4-inch rifle is now substantially different. So that's why you want the most accurate platform you can, because I mean, it's just going to amplify the issue the further out you go.
Yep.
But it's funny that most really good predator hunters are really good shots, and they understand the importance of accuracy.
Yeah. Well, it's when I talk about my class, I talk about people, shooting off a bench, and my rule of thumb is this: if you got a box of 20, I said shoot 6 of them off your bench max. That'll tell you your gun's where it wants to be, and then shoot the other 14 rounds exactly how you're going to be sitting on a coyote stand. If you're a night hunter and shoot off tripod, shoot off tripod. If you're a day hunter and you're sitting on the ground shooting off a swagger or a shooting sticks or a little tripod, shoot those other 14 exactly that way. And you're sitting in your seat, make yourself move. That's the interesting thing. When I'm doing these classes and I get these guys that have very little coyote hunting experience, and I like watching them. Like I like to watch the coyote too, but I kind of out of the corner of my eye, I'll watch how they're reacting and watch them just fumble around, moving sticks and trying to pick up whether they're just shooting an old pair of shooting sticks or whether they have some, one of these newer types of systems, and just watch them stumble. And then it compounds itself because you can't get it. And then you panic even more. You're like, oh my God. Because you have this internal timer in your head when a coyote's there, like, oh my God, I only have so many seconds here before this coyote's going to leave. And, that's just what's so much fun about it compared to like deer hunting and everything else. It's like this timer in your head that's like it's countdown. You're like, oh God. And you're just freaking out. And if you can't manage that, then it turns out bad for them.
Oh yeah. Game over. I mean, you're going to miss every time.
Yeah.
If you can't, I would think the reason why I've been stumbled into a greater success in shooting is I have the ability to somehow control excitement till after the shot. Like, now the caveat to this is anytime we're going to go out and specifically call for bobcats, as soon as I sit down, especially daytime, that's my thing. I love calling for cats. Always have. As soon as I sit down, I get so hyped up. I can't turn on the call because I don't want to be all,
Yeah.
So I finally calm it down, and then during the stand, it's cool, calm, and collective. And after the shot has been made, I'm just back to, and I think the people who can manage that are going to be, much more successful, because not only do you need to make a good shot, you need to know what to do after making a good shot. That's just as important as making a shot, because, a single, a good stand where you did everything right, it makes you feel really good. But if you kind of know what you're doing and calling a second coyote, you keep your shit together essentially.
Yep.
Second, third, fourth, whatever the case may be, that's just as important. If you can control that excitement, I suppose, until after
it's buck fever. You know, it's exactly what buck fever is. My middle boy gets it bad. Like he gets amped up before it's happening. And I'm glad. I'm glad he's experiencing that because he's learning how to control it. Creighton, who's with us on this hunt, he's more of a laid back. Like he'll get it after the fact. Yeah. Like he's calm and cool. And I've always been like you. Like, and I don't know if I've always been like that. Maybe that's some the training I had when I was in the Marine Corps with the the different shooting and things we did. But yeah, for me, I hope I always still get that feeling.
Yeah.
Like I told you this morning. So this morning we're watching this coyote stumble in. It's kind of dipping and diving out in front of the call a little bit,
getting a little
and I'm like, okay, this thing's we don't have great visibility. It could dip into the grass about any minute here, and we might not get a shot. And I just squared up in the scope, and Creighton rolls with a shotgun, and I was at that point, I'm trying to talk to the camera a little about what just happened, and I just was like, man, I'm a mess right now, man. I'm shaking, and the adrenaline kind of dump hit me, and but no, that makes it fun. But yeah, you definitely understanding how to control that, but. Oh yeah, it's definitely something we don't want to go away.
I had the perfect seat for that stand because I was sitting basically behind him from where the coyote was. He was starting out down there in that iffy zone, where I was like, "Am I gonna have to shoot this? Am I gonna have to shoot this coyote instead of letting his son shoot the coyote? Like, is this about to happen like this way?"
They're used to it.
But as soon as he took one step this direction, I was like, "Oh, it's back in it's his ball game now." Yeah. So, kind of come off guard there, and I was just watching him because I was. as you get older and you have kids and everything, the fun part is watching them fumble around just as you did. So I'm just watching him to kind of see how he's going to respond. And it was awesome. Like I said, you know, I'm a firm believer in not doing all that goofy horse shit during a stand, like premature celebrating.
Oh, jumping up and doing a little
after
dance
the
or something.
stand.
Yeah,
that's totally fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
especially when you have to work like we've been having to do.
Yeah.
But when he shot, like I watched him, he didn't premature throw the gun up. He waited until it crossed the exact spot. Like he did everything exactly as I would have done, as you would have done. You know, he waited till it was the perfect timing. When the coyote wasn't looking at him, raised up a shotgun. Everything was perfect. And when he smoked that thing, I give it one of those. It's a good thing my mic was dead because I might have said a few choice words. But that was just awesome. You know, I enjoy that a lot. It was great.
Yeah, I'm excited for those. You know, all my boys killed their first coyotes when they're 5, and that was like this weird goal I had as a dad. You know, I had this little custom 220, a Savage. I think it was a model 10 youth.
Yeah,
they're a model 110 or a model 10.
It's basically the same thing.
Yeah, and it was a youth, and at the time, I got that gun. I was like, damn, this is too big for him to shoot. So they had this little toy gun that they ran around the house with. So I took the toy gun and this youth 223 down to the gunsmith, and I said, can you make this, how close can you get this real gun to the same size as this toy gun? And he's like, nah, let me see what I can do. So he worked on it. He cut the barrel down to 16 inches and threaded it so we could suppress it, cut the stock down to like a 12-inch length of pull, whittled the wrist way down, Cerakoted the stock. I was like, this is awesome now.
Oh, yeah.
Because it has the AccuTrigger, so I'm like, okay, we can shoot a knife, but I can teach the boys that, you know, at 5 years old, they can understand that the fact that the trigger's not going to go off until I flush that, you know, the little AccuTrigger thing up there. And then I just put a red dot on it so they didn't have to worry about, you know, eye relief. And it's been the most fun. I've had probably now, I bet you 6 to 10 kids have killed their first coyote with that rifle.
That's awesome.
You know, when they're all 5 to 7 now, you know, and it's just fun. And it's a cool thing too, you know, because it's a 223. So if they don't make a perfect shot, we can still get the coyote, as opposed to taking a kid out and trying to get them their first coyote with a 22 long rifle or something like that. You know, they got to hit them perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so that's been a lot of fun with that little rifle and watching these. I tell my boys all the time, you know, they've been on, you know, they've won some contests with me. They've been on 18 coyote days. They've been on one coyote. They've seen it all. And, you know, I keep telling them, so one of these days you're not going to be on a goddamn guided coyote hunt anymore. I hope you've been paying attention, you know. I hope you've been paying attention.
Yeah.
So it's fun when you see him do things. You're like, wow, he has been paying attention.
Yeah.
And now they're getting to the age where they're just talking crap and how they're going to team up in contests and go against me someday. And I said, all right. I said, you know, my oldest boy is going to be 16 here next year, and he's talking about, and I'm like, but don't be going to none of my spots. I said, you're going to be finding your own stuff. You'll be screwing up all my good stuff, you know. You're on your own, buddy. Hope you're ready.
That's awesome. At what point did y'all get in shooting suppressed?
You know, I got my first suppressor in 2008. You know, once again, I've always been about technology. You know, whether it's, I can't tell you the last time I blew a hand call.
Yeah.
You know, I've always been about technology. And once again, kind of when I jumped on the AR, you know, deal in 2004, which is way before the bandwagon of ARs, you know. I like to say I've shot ARs before it was cool to shoot an AR kind of a deal. And then same with suppressors, you know. I didn't know it was a thing, you know, but I didn't know a single person that owned a suppressor in 2008. I'm like, wow, this is what I can see a huge advantage to this. You know, I was thinking on the coyote hunting aspect of it, but after I got the suppressor, I started realizing all the other benefits of just recoil reduction and how much better you shoot a gun when it's suppressed. And then I bought another one right after that, you know. And then now, you know, every dude I've ever hunted coyotes in your circle of coyote hunting buddies, they all have them now, you know. And it's just a matter of once you hunt around them one time, it's like, why have I not put the paperwork in 2 years ago, kind of a deal.
Once you hunt around them, and especially if it's a productive day when lots of shots are being fired. But for myself, the huge turning point was shooting behind it, not just being, you know, I hunted with Kelly Jackson.
Yeah.
the first person I ever hunted around had a suppressor, and we decoy dogged, and it was, wasn't that fantastic. It gets hot
Fast.
super fast,
Yep.
so we're not making that many stands, and it wasn't all that productive. I think it's still kind of early. And he shot a few times, and I was like, it's pretty awesome. But my first trip shooting behind a suppressor, I was like, these guns are dead to me until there's a suppressor on any of them. Because we went to Fox Country and had a fantastic night. So it was like lots and lots of shooting. I was like, oh, I get it now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge. The recoil reduction is what people don't, I don't know. I always tell people probably 75%. I don't know. Would you?
On a 223, I would.
It's like pulling the trigger.
100%.
I mean, I love it. I watch bullets impact coyotes.
Yeah, at close ranges.
Like I watch coyotes die in the scope, and it's so great to me because I know exactly. I can tell you when that coyote does its first spin, I can come out of the scope and be like, yeah, there ain't no sense in even shooting. He's just got one right in the ribs. He's just spinning. Or I can be like, no, damn it, I pulled it just a little bit. I need to get another one in him instead of trying to figure it out. Right. Coyote right up on the edge, skyline or something, running coyote, and you roll him right as he's going over the top, and you hear the whack of the bullet is louder than the shot.
Yeah.
And it saves you time, like boom, 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 the coyote runs over the hill, and I'm like, I never heard a whack, so we ain't gonna waste 20 minutes going up there and looking, but if the whack's distinctive.
Yeah. Oh,
you
yeah.
hear it.
That's
and yeah, it's big. I tell people, is it gonna make you? Are you gonna kill way more coyotes just because you buy a suppressor? You'll kill more. I don't know how many more. Because even before suppressed, we would kill doubles. Boom, and then 2 minutes later, another one running. Boom, you shoot it. Kind of a deal. Even suppressed, you get two coyotes standing out there at 100 yards, and you whack the one. I think. To me personally, I think the bullet whacking the coyote is what scares the other one, not the shot.
That thump.
It's the whack,
Yeah.
So, and I've seen them where you shoot the one and the other one kind of just looks over, and then you're like, holy crap, the other one's still standing there. Wow. So, but just from if you're a shooter and you like to shoot, and there's not, all of us have all this money dumped into guns and scopes. I mean, $1,000 on a suppressor is nothing, man.
No.
And I shoot 30 cal suppressors on my. I do have a 222 caliber, but on my AR right now, I'm running a 30 cal suppressor, and that's what I tell people. I'm like, just buy one, buy a 30 cal thread-on suppressor, and you could shoot it on any. You can only ever shoot one rifle at a time, anyway. And then you can put it on whatever rifle you're gonna take out, as long as you got it zeroed in, for that with it on, and they're awesome, man. I love them
for sure. I mean, for everybody totes the hearing protection, but no one really stops and thinks about it. If you're going to get into predator hunting serious, the possibility for days of multiple shots is very present.
Yep.
And if you not run suppress, I've been hunting with a lot of people over the years. Nobody wears ears or anything like that because you want to be able to communicate.
Yeah, if you do, you can't.
If you're having a fantastic day, it's lots and lots of shooting without no hearing protection. So, I mean, that's definitely a large part of it, but it's just the fact that for me, the marksmanship, it'll make it, it'll make you a better shooter.
Oh,
if you shoot any at all after which from what I've seen, most people, when they get in shooting suppressed, they want to shoot more.
Yep.
I mean, that's just all. It's way more enjoyable with the recoil reduction, sound reduction, and all that. But I like the aspect, and you're hunting mostly open country. We're hunting mostly open country. It's really amplified how great they are out here because you don't have all that echo and all that stuff.
Yep.
So to me, I really like the aspect of if, let's just say, you are shooting them longer ranges, when in open country, that can happen. Especially if you have any kind of wind, they're going to hear the thump. Hopefully you're dispatching a coyote. Yeah. They're not going to know where it came from. It could buy you literal seconds. I mean, in the difference between a single or a double, seconds can be make the biggest difference in the world.
I remember when we first got him, my dad and I were at the range, and I told him, I said, stay here and shoot. And I walked out to the 100-yard target and stood like 10 feet left of the 100-yard target. And I said, all right, shoot the target. And I was like, wow, that is weird. Like, it sounds like it's coming from behind me. Then I walked out to the 200-yard target and said, hey, shoot the 200-yard target. And it just, you just could not tell, that you could hear a faint, you'd hear the snap of the bullet going through the wood, beside me on the target, but you just couldn't hear it, and I thought, wow, this is going to be good. 'Cause coyotes, if they're running, they're just running. They don't know exactly where they're running from. They're just trying to get out of there.
I like, a big thing for me was, or still is there's a huge amount of difference between when you're trying to teach kids suppressed and unsuppressed. And it makes it way more enjoyable for them if that thing's not loud and they're not, we all grew up unsuppressed rifles, and you probably got handed something that was goddamn way too big and heavy for you. It was way too big of a caliber. I don't know if you got this way, but this is how
I told you, first coyote shot was a lever action 308 with a fixed 4-power scope. I'm like,
probably had a metal butt pad or something. So you got handed these large calibers, and I mean, they're just teaching you what they know, and there was little to no instruction, maybe some safety things, and it's not okay, it's going to recoil a little bit. It's just like, oh, you can't hit that, you're a terrible shot, and that was the end of it. Like, that was just kind of the only teaching. But nowadays, if anything, to get your kids involved, put a suppressor on it. It's just that much better, and give them a little bit smaller caliber than your.
Oh, hands down. You like my boys shooting their first coyotes when they're 5. Suppressor, 100% behind that. If I didn't have a suppressor, that wouldn't happen. It'd be, like you said, the boom and the flinch, and
they're getting to learn without the inherent flinch that when I got serious in the shooting, that was the hardest thing to get through, which I, just like coyote hunting, you do more and you start learning things. For me to work through years of that was just shooting more and more and more.
Yep.
And then I don't know. This could be a suppressor podcast because they're so great, but we'll move on. What e-call are you running? And if people know you, they know. But
yeah. So, I got in with Lucky Duck here a handful of years ago. Everybody was asked, how did I get involved with Lucky Duck, So I've written some articles over the years, and for a while I was writing some articles every now and then for Predator Extreme magazine. And these companies every now and then will have these, what they call writers hunts. And whether they're launching a new product or something like that, they'll call up the editor of the magazine and say, hey, we want to, do this hunt, whether it's deer, coyotes, who knows, turkeys, whatever it may be. And we want to showcase this new product. Do you have any writers, or 1 or 2? They'll tell them how many that come out, and we'll pay for their trip, and take them on this hunt. And then in turn, the writer goes back and writes this article about the hunt and about the product. And essentially that company's getting free advertising. But the magazine's getting content. So anyway, Tim Noe, the owner of Lucky Duck, had been working with Rick Paulette already, developing a sound library, and Rick and him had got together and basically said, Rick didn't have the know-how in the e-call industry. Lucky Duck had the manufacturing, know-how because of their waterfowl side. And so Rick said, well, if I get the sound library for you guys, can we work together and develop this e-call? Well, they had been working on this for a year, so they kind of had this prototype, and they had this sound library ready, so they were ready to start introducing it to the world. So Tim got a hold of the editor, Predator Extreme, said, hey, we want to bring somebody out on this writer's hunt, show them this new e-call we're working on, this new sound library.
Yeah.
And so, and we're going to hunt down in eastern Kansas at Rick's. Well, I get this email out of the blue from the editor of Predator Extreme. He's like, hey, you want to go on this writer's hunt down in Kansas? You're the closest guy I know, and they're not paying for they're paying for everything there, but they're not paying for your transportation, like a plane ticket or whatever. And I said, well, who's it with? And he said, well, it's Lucky Duck and Rick Paulette. Well, I'd never met Rick, but I knew exactly who he was, and I thought, and I'd never hunted Kansas at the time. And I thought, wow, sign me up, man. This is going to be fun. And so I went down there, and we met up, and we hunted for 3 days. And it was crazy to me because at the time I was killing, a couple, 200-300 coyotes a season, you know? And so I was essentially getting to go on a guided coyote hunt, which is kind of fun,
Yeah,
so it was me and Rick and Tim. And Tim didn't care to shoot me because he was wanting me to shoot coyotes, which I didn't really care to shoot the coyotes, And so for 3 days, us three drove around in a truck, eastern Kansas, and killed coyotes. And just through windshield time and just through talking, they really had no idea what I did at the time and who I was. And I, once I heard the sounds on this e-call, I was like, wow, this is anything unlike anything I've heard on these other e-calls I've been using. And I thought, we got to talking and we kind of hit it off and said, okay, Rick's just this, he's got this, he'll tell you himself, he's like, he barely passed high school, he damn near got kicked out of high school, but he's like super common sense smart, kind of just hands-on, comes up with these crazy ideas that I was like, well, how'd you come up with that? Like, I'd never even thought of that, and just the way he's done this. And I thought, wow, this is a guy I want to work with, and yeah. So, but he doesn't like to do the marketing kind of stuff, the talking and the promotional stuff. And that's kind of where they thought, well, hey, this might work out good. Rick kind of does the R&D stuff for us, the sound libraries, testing out all the e-calls and all that. And Geoff, you can kind of, work on the marketing side. And then, so kind of got in with them and which has been fun. We've been kind of, and essentially with them is, you got a couple guys that kill a lot of coyotes. Rick's been killing coyotes for a long, long time. He doesn't kill a ton of coyotes a year just because he doesn't get to hunt a lot, but he's been doing it for a long time. And they take our feedback serious, and they say, if you hunt as hard as anybody out there, if this e-call works for you, it should work for anybody. And, and Rick has high standards, with his sound library on there. He doesn't want it just on a piece of junk. So, they've done a great job of listening to us, and not only us, but once they started selling e-calls, feedback from other predator hunters that were buying these, and it's a process, it is, it's not something you can pump out the best thing overnight, and it's, and there has been some frustrating parts, over the years, and it's just electronics in general and just things, how it goes. But, I'm excited to where we've gotten it, and it's fun to have been part of it, to kind of build that up.
So, you basically go on board with all that. Is that when y'all fired up the last stand?
Yeah. So at that point, Rick and I both have backgrounds in filming and DVDs. Rick has always had his DVD series, and he filmed some with Randy Anderson and stuff. I had a DVD series out, from like 2008, 2010, 2012, the Coyote Craze DVD series. So we had both been around filming and hunting. Both of us had basically filmed our own DVDs. When I was filming that DVD, I didn't shoot a coyote. I mean, I think I had probably 100, maybe 150 kills on those 3 DVDs. I probably pulled the trigger on like 2 of those. It was always me running the camera, taking out my buddies, my dad, and everybody else to shoot all. And Rick's always been the same way when he's filmed his, So we had that background on what we kind of wanted to do to get footage, and we knew how to, the minor tweaks you have to do when it comes to filming coyote hunts versus just hunting, even though we do hunt now, when we're filming The Last Stand and stuff, it's what we're doing is what you're seeing, it's not reenactment. It's not crap.
Yeah.
It's the real deal, and it's just tweaking that a little bit. But yeah, so that was kind of the goal was, hey, you two are, Rick and I are kind of like yin and yang, I think, he's just a good old boy that just says what's on his mind. And it's I think it's a good contrast to what we got, and it's worked out pretty good.
So now you have a podcast. Tell us about that. Yeah.
Well, you were on it, man. If you haven't listened to it yet, I think it's episode 10, I think, of Eastman's Predator Pros podcast. I got involved. I told you over the years I've done some seminars, which is just part of what I like to do. And I was doing some seminars at the International Sportsman's Expos, and I still do them. If you're in the Denver area, I'm actually going to be into March, if you're listening to this.
Perfect.
Probably back maybe in 2012, I started doing these seminars, and the Eastmans have always been huge out west, with the big game hunting. And Guy Eastman and Ike Eastman and their dad, Mike, they were always at these shows, and Guy was always doing seminars as well on big game hunting. And a couple different times he would be either giving a seminar right before my slot or after. So in between seminars, we'd bullshit a little bit, and, just kind of became friends with him a little bit. And, we'd go drink some beers after the show a couple different times, just got to talking. And I was always giving him crap about, oh, you guys hold your nose up to us, you big game hunters, 200-inch mule deer and elk and blah, 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 blah. and they never gave a whole lot of thought into the coyote world. And so I hadn't really talked to them for a few years, and then just out of the blue this summer, they got a hold of me and said, hey, we see a need for a predator hunting specific podcast. There's nothing out there that's real consistent, that's real good, and they have the background of that. They put out a big game hunting podcast. It's probably one of the most successful ones out there, and they do a fly fishing one and a waterfowl one, but they're like, and I'm like, well, that's perfect for me because I don't have the know-how or the ability to behind the scenes, the technical stuff to put something together. But I said, I don't mind getting on a mic and talking and do it. So we kind of kicked that off, and it's been rolling ever since.
Eastman's Predator Pros.
Eastman's Predator Pros. Yeah, just Spotify or iTunes, Google Podcasts. Yeah, just search Eastman's Predator Pros, and you'll find that there's 14 or 15 of them up on there by now. So
I've been listening. I like it. Dude.
Yeah.
I mean, we could. Predator hunters who are serious about predator hunting could talk about this shit forever. But
that's been my, these podcasts, I'm thinking to myself, well, how much can I really, they're like, oh, these podcasts need to be about 30, 40 minutes long,
Yeah.
I haven't done one under an hour yet, and it seems like they go fast. Like you just get to talking, and I'm like, my wife's like, oh, you should be really good at this. So you sit there and bullshit on the phone for, with your buddy, and I'm like, you're right. I'll get on the phone with a buddy and we'll start talking about maybe a guy one of my buddies I haven't talked to in a month or two, and before I know it, I look down at my phone. I'm like, damn, I've been on the phone for 50 minutes with him just BSing about this stuff.
You don't feel like you've even touched the surface.
Yeah. So, I'm excited. I got to do 20. We're doing 24. So it's constant content. So every 2 weeks, you're going to have a new one coming out, which is important. So I'm curious to see, I kind of got the rest of this season laid out, what we're going to do, because with my lawn care stuff, I'm going to try to record them all here in the next couple weeks.
Right.
And then they'll just release them over the summer, and into the early fall. So who knows, next season, like I said, there's always new hunts. I mean, we'll be hunting new coyotes and telling new stories about crazy stuff that happens. And
for sure,
I'll meet new people, how I met you kind of, I've always kind of known you through social media, but meeting through the podcast and just different guys you come about and talking about I want to showcase coyote hunting. It's the same, but it's different. There's little differences in different parts of the country, like us hunting in these high rack trucks with lights and, just we're in fox country, it's just coyotes where I'm at, and it's just the cool things that I've been lucky enough to experience. Some people just aren't going to probably ever have a chance to experience, but hey, maybe they can live vicariously through us and kind of maybe pick up a few things along the way, but be entertained a little bit.
I think the podcast is a fantastic outlet. I mean, now it seems like the predator hunting community it's behind everything else as a whole.
Yeah.
Predator hunting had its big jump probably 7 years ago, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Where it really
that was
caught
wildfire.
Yep. It was no longer a secret,
Yep.
all the secrets and all
Yep,
that.
yep.
But I think podcast is probably like the next big outlet for predator hunting. Well, I mean, for the hunting industry as a whole, you see a lot of them popping up all the time, and it's another great learning tool is what I like about it. And then the whole reason why I want to do one is not necessarily just the learning tool side of it, because we have other things for that as well, like your show. If people actually watch your show, you're always going to have those guys just want to watch shit die.
Yeah. Yep.
But if people actually watch and pay attention, you can learn a lot of stuff off shows such as y'all's and podcasts and everything else. But my favorite thing to do, and the whole reason why I wanted to do a podcast, is because some of the most fascinating people I've met has been through predator hunting or industries that surround and feed the predator hunting community, whether it be firearms, e-calls, and all that. Everybody's got a great story to tell, and that's what intrigues me the most. Is like hearing your
entertainment
background,
value. I'm the same way, man. Just the stories. I mean, I could somebody. I got a buddy of mine, Lane Bangerter. Just fascinating guy. He was a government trapper for 20 years. I won the Worlds with him. He was my partner, and then him and his daughter actually just won the Worlds this year.
That's awesome.
But he has some of the craziest stories. Helicopter gunning, you know, he was part of the wolf reintroduction in Idaho back in the mid-90s. He was one of the first trappers to go in there and start trapping the new generations of wolves and collaring them. I mean, just killing mountain. I mean, you name it.
Would he ever come to Texas? I need him on this podcast.
I've been trying to. So here's the crazy thing about Lane is, you know, he got into politics. You know, he worked for the governor of Idaho for a long time after he got out of government trapping. Well, he was on Trump's team when Trump was in office. He was on Trump's campaign. You know, just pushing along. He followed Trump Jr. around on the campaign trail for the whole year, you know. And then once Trump was elected, he was actually he got a job in the EPA. I don't know his exact title, but now when Trump's gone, so he kind of technically retired.
Right.
But, you know, he's optimistic that Trump may turn around and come back here in 2024. The problem with coyote hunting is he just has to lay low. Like he doesn't have a social media account. He's not posting pictures. He's not doing anything. He don't really want the people that he deals with knowing that he's a coyote hunter, which is kind of unfortunate, but that's the reality of the situation.
Oh, yeah.
And so I've asked him a couple different times to get on my podcast and just because we've spent a lot of time behind the windshield in hunting contests and stuff like that. And I'm like, dude, I would love to have you on, just tell a couple of these stories, you know?
Yeah.
And so after I have him on my show, then I'll send him down here to Texas.
Works.
You know,
Works.
but yeah, stories like that. That's what it's, to me, that's what it's about, you know?
Well, that's pretty awesome. I mean, again, I would like to go on for a while, but we need to get going because we're going hunting again.
I don't even know what time. We got to go wake everybody else up. They're all taking naps.
It's already 4:00.
Oh man. Time flies, man. Well, next time I come back down here, I like the studio, man. Here I am at my house doing my podcast. I got my little card table set up, and I'm just in the kitchen, you know, off Zoom. You know, I wish this would be awesome. You know, it's just so the logistics of getting people together like this, but you know, the audio, just the way you guys have this room set up is freaking awesome. And I wish you know,
we definitely don't know what we're doing.
Work in progress.
But I'm the muscle, if you will.
Yeah.
And he's the one, Fitzy behind the scenes over there. He's the one that's like, that's all him. Like I just built, you know, the room. But I mean,
you know, I like this, you know, what you got to make him do, Fitzy, is do a solo podcast. That'll really test him, right? Sitting here talking to yourself right across, just staring at the wall, talking.
That's been an object. That's been a subject of lots of conversation because I don't want to do it, but there needs to be some sort of introduction because we don't want to just go after the TPH people and other predator hunters. We want to have all kinds of different people in here, you know, on the TPH podcast and everything. So people like the people who are going to, you know, because we're going to be on YouTube and the platforms. They need to know who you are, and that's one of the hardest things for me to do. I don't want to talk about myself. It just seems so...
It's tricky. I've done a couple of them, and it's hard to talk nonstop for 30 or 40 minutes without a little bit of interaction, like a little feeding off of each. You know, it's weird. It's a weird deal. I don't know. I would much rather...
The plus side that I have is him, which I'm sure at this point in time.
Well, yeah, you're never technically. Yeah, with him sitting there, you're never gonna have a technically.
I'm sure at this point in time he already knows all of this stuff. He's probably tired of hearing about all this shit. But I am, you know, that's the reason why we wanted to do the actual studio, and you know, he's just like me, is like, you know, we don't know what we're doing. But if we're going to do it, let's just do it. Let's dive into this.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's why we want to do all in person, which I know that's logistically, that's going to be tough. And which is why we have Brooke.
You get to get a kegerator in here.
Oh, we're definitely going
to. There's a bunch of beer in the fridge out there.
Oh, yeah. I forgot to tell
y'all.
Me.
Jeez.
I forgot.
Sorry. I figured y'all were going hunting afterwards.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I mean, tired. I might start drinking if we don't start killing more. But, you know, our goal is to get people here and do the in-person stuff so we can get the good video and all that.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know,
if you can figure out the animal side of it, having animals to call in, get a lot more people out.
Maybe we
Here.
should just high fence it and just cut the cows loose in here. Or something. Yeah. But anyways, I guess before we talk for another hour, I guess we'll just go ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah, let's go kill some stuff, man.
need to
Hopefully
get some-
they can, if they listen to this podcast, they'll be like, I wonder how they ended up doing tonight and tomorrow.
Hopefully we have pictures.
The final couple
Success.
episodes of The
And-
Last Stand.
The Last Stand on YouTube.
Yep. Yeah. Easy enough. It's on Lucky Duck's YouTube page. So yeah, you just go to search engine and just type in The Last Stand or Lucky Duck and go to their page. You'll find we're just finishing up our 4th season. So this actual episode down here in West Texas will be the grand finale, episode 10 of season 4. No pressure. No pressure. We're hoping we've never filmed an episode where we've killed a coyote, a bobcat, and a gray fox in the same episode.
No pressure again.
No pressure, Wade. No pressure.
And they can find you on.
Yeah, my website. If you want information on the school, links to YouTube's podcast, articles I've written, coyotecraze.com. That's my email. If you got questions, social media, Instagram is what I run.
And that's
I
underneath your name.
Yep, it's just at Geoff Nemnich. Just search Geoff. It's the Geoff version. Probably one of the few that pop up on your little search deal. Especially one with a coyote as a picture and the icon,
Right.
That's what I like. So for me, it's part of the game, of what we do. So, but Instagram to me is a little bit easier than Facebook. I don't have to see everybody's stuff. They can just see my stuff and call it a day, So posting stories. You want to see me traveling around doing this? I do a lot of stories, just nothing real fancy. It's just out there. Look at headshot on this guy,
Well, we appreciate you coming out.
You bet, man.
Hopefully-
it's been fun.
Hopefully we
Had a
can
great time.
entice you into coming back next year. We'll do a longer one is what I would like to do. Because there's all kinds of other stuff I'd like to talk about.
Oh yeah, this is just tip of the iceberg. We haven't talked hardly about anything, So,
Well, with that, we're going to wrap it up.
all right, appreciate it, buddy.
See you guys next time.